The story begins at the grand finals of the Path to the Strongest tournament inside the VR game ERA Online, where two undefeated players face off. The first is Lin Jie, known as the Undying God of War, a Berserker-class player renowned for his flawless mechanical skill. His opponent is Bailey Changcheng, the Genius Sword Saint, ranked at the very top of the swordsman leaderboard at level 85. From the very start, Lin completely dominates the battle, repeatedly striking Bailey's weak points until the system announces that Bailey's defense is broken and his health has dropped to a critical level. Confident in his victory, Lin remarks that it looks like he's won this time, and Bailey quietly agrees. For a brief moment, it seems like the match is over. However, everything suddenly changes. Bailey's expression darkens, and he refuses to accept defeat. He activates an unauthorized enhancement called Infinite Martial Soul Enhancement and mocks Lin, claiming that hard work alone can never change fate, and that someone like Lin could never understand. Bailey then spends a massive amount of in-game currency to activate Super Speed, becoming so fast that Lin can barely track his movements. He follows this with teleportation, and finally unleashes a one-hit kill attack. In an instant, the system announces Lin's defeat. His character is eliminated, his account permanently deleted, and all his assets transferred to Bailey. Shocked and devastated, Lin demands to know why his closest friend would resort to cheating instead of accepting defeat, accusing Bailey of betraying their promise. Bailey calmly apologizes, saying they can be brothers again in another life, before delivering the final blow as everything fades to black. Overwhelmed with despair and anger, Lin reflects on his life. How he started from nothing, with no wealth, no background, and no support. Through sheer determination and skill, he climbed to the very top, only to be betrayed at the final step by the person he trusted most. In his final moments, he vows that if he were ever given another chance, he would do whatever it takes to reach the top. The next moment, Lin suddenly awakens at home. To his shock, his younger sister stands next to him, visibly annoyed. This leaves him stunned, as she had been in a coma for 3 years due to a severe traffic accident, relying on life support funded by Lin's earnings. She scolds him for sleeping on the floor and staying up all night waiting for a game launch. Disoriented, Lin asks for the date. She tells him it's the open beta launch day of ERA Online. In that instant, Lin realizes the truth. He has traveled back in time to June 22nd, exactly 5 years in the past. Quickly confirming that this is not a dream, Lin understands he has been given a second chance. He recalls his current situation, 3 years of savings from part-time work and 100,000 credits borrowed from loan sharks, just enough to purchase a gaming helmet and begin again. He also remembers how ERA Online would soon become a global phenomenon, and how he once rose to the top using nothing but pure skill and basic equipment, earning a reputation as a legendary mechanical player. But this time, he holds an overwhelming advantage. In the past, players had no guides and were forced to explore blindly. But Lin now possesses 5 years of knowledge about the game's mechanics, secrets, and progression. Determined not to repeat his past mistakes or suffer betrayal again, Lin logs into the game. As the system prompts him to choose his class, he makes a firm declaration. The King of Mechanics has returned, ready to use his future knowledge to dominate ERA Online from the very beginning and claim the title of the undisputed strongest player. After entering the game, Lin finds himself in the Novice Village Square, where other players laugh as he walks by in his basic gear. They mock him for choosing the warrior class. Ignoring them, Lin checks his stats. He pays no attention to the ridicule. From his past life experience, he knows that while most players rush toward flashy classes like mages and swordsmen, the warrior's high HP provides a major survival advantage against early game monsters that can easily defeat those fragile classes. His plan is clear. Use his knowledge to overcome the class's early weaknesses and eventually advance into the Berserker class, reclaiming his title as the Undying God of War. A system notification soon appears, assigning him a quest titled A New Arrival, instructing him to meet Novice Guide Altrit within 5 minutes. On his way, a level 2 paladin named Bale deliberately bumps into him and demands a protection fee of 1 copper coin. Lin immediately recognizes him as the type of player who spends real money early on just to intimidate others, despite lacking actual skill. Lin refuses and calmly states that he is stronger. Enraged, Bale swings his sword, but Lin stops the attack effortlessly with his bare hands. Bale freezes in shock, unable to apply any force to his weapon. Lin smirks, knowing his starting talent, grip strength amplification, greatly enhances his hand strength and resistance to being disarmed. While most players consider this talent useless, Lin understands its true potential. If his strength surpasses his opponents, he can block basic attacks and even disarm them barehanded. Since Bale invested nothing into strength, Lin overpowers him with ease. He also recalls that this talent is key to unlocking the legendary Titan's grip ability later on, which allows a player to wield two massive two-handed swords simultaneously. The commotion soon draws the attention of two level 5 guards armed with halberds. Bale immediately pretends to be the victim, accusing Lin of attacking him first in a safe zone and demanding punishment. However, Lin had already anticipated this. The system enforces strict rules in safe zones, penalizing the aggressor while allowing the victim to retaliate without consequence. As expected, the system determines Bale initiated the conflict and forces him to pay Lin 1 copper coin as compensation. Lin accepts the reward, and Bale's companions quickly back off. With the situation resolved, Lin continues on to meet novice guide Altrit and complete his quest. Altrit presents him with 3 standard reward options: 10 copper coins, 3 basic HP potions, or a basic iron sword. The surrounding players expect Lin to choose the coins to sell for real-world value, but instead, he surprises everyone by confidently requesting option 4. The crowd reacts with confusion, calling him irrational, and even Altrit appears puzzled, questioning where such an option came from. Drawing on a memory from 5 years in the future, Lin calmly recites a hidden password about the dark moon sinking into eternal night and reigniting the flame of the old gods. This triggers a hidden response. A memory surfaces of a future version of Altrit entrusting Lin with this exact password for a critical moment. The system immediately announces that a hidden quest condition has been fulfilled. Recognizing that only a trusted figure could know such a phrase, Altrit updates the reward interface, revealing a glowing, newly unlocked option 4, special return reward. Lin reflects on his past life, remembering how he stood just 1 step away from becoming the strongest before being defeated through unfair means. Refusing to accept that outcome, he is suddenly presented with a hidden system reward, the initial talent stone, a unique item that can only be bound to a single account and cannot be purchased, even with real money. The surrounding players are stunned, whispering in disbelief. Determined to secure the best possible start, Lin selects his second talent, Oath of the Sword. Created by the legendary sword Saint Carcy Mel, this talent transforms its user into an oath-bound swordsman with exceptional sword mastery, but permanently restricts them to using only swords. The onlookers immediately ridicule his choice, calling it a low-tier and impractical option. Ignoring their reactions, Lin calmly thanks the NPC, Altrit, for the reward. He recalls that in his previous life, he didn't obtain a second talent until level 30, so gaining one at level 1 provides a massive early advantage, allowing him to grow far more quickly. Lin understands that pay-to-win advantages lose their impact after level 5, and that true strength comes from skill, especially when wielding a simple sword, something other players have yet to realize. As he walks through the village, Lin encounters a group of players harassing a non-combat merchant who sells starter equipment. They mock the merchant for avoiding combat and belittle his role. Lin steps in, pointing out that without life skill players providing food, potions, and weapons, combat players wouldn't even make it beyond the city gates. He then asks the merchant the price of a plain wooden stick. Nervously, the merchant replies that it costs 1 copper coin. Lin uses the exact coin he obtained earlier from Bale and purchases the level 1 wooden stick, a basic weapon with 1 attack that can function as both a sword and a mace. The bullies burst into laughter, claiming he's been scammed, and insist the item is worthless and freely available elsewhere. However, once they leave, Lin carefully inspects the weapon. Drawing on his vast experience from his previous life, where he wielded countless powerful weapons, he immediately recognizes something unusual. Any weapon that belongs to two categories simultaneously is, in fact, an unidentified divine artifact. He equips the stick as a sword, and his stats update. Level 1 Human Warrior with 125 HP, 2 to 5 attack, 5 strength, 5 stamina, 3 agility, 1 intelligence, 1 spirit, and 3 will. Moments later, a global event is triggered, the World Quest, Terror Fiend Offensive. All players are called to defend the gates of Meltown from incoming Terror Fiends and protect the Guardian Crystal. Lin recalls that Meltown is a crucial frontline location that was completely destroyed by these high-attack Level 2 monsters about a year after the open beta began. Without hesitation, he heads to the North Gate, where an NPC guard is desperately trying to stop players from leaving. The guard warns them to level up at safer locations and reminds them that stepping outside will remove their beginner protection. Lin insists on facing stronger enemies and demands the gate be opened. The system acknowledges his resolve, increasing his reputation in Meltown by 100 points and upgrading his status to friendly. From his past experience, Lin knows that pushing beyond limits like this increases NPC affinity and can unlock hidden opportunities. At that moment, Captain Lance approaches and assigns him a side quest titled The Captain's Request, asking him to recover the bodies of 3 soldiers trapped by the Terror Fiend leader, Griffin the Chanter. Lin immediately realizes that he has been given a level 3+ quest despite being only level 1. But he also knows this is a rare opportunity. Defeating the boss far below the intended level is the key to fully clearing the dungeon and obtaining the highest tier rewards. With complete confidence, Lin tells Captain Lance to prepare for a celebration instead of a funeral. When Lance remarks that such a feat would require a miracle, Lin simply smiles and replies that he is that miracle, before stepping beyond the gate to face the incoming monsters. Lin arrives outside the beginner village to find a fierce battle already underway, with fallen enemies scattered near the entrance. A nearby party loudly calls out for tanks and healers to join them. Some players recognize Lin as the one who bought the wooden stick and begin mocking him, saying he has no chance fighting alone and will soon be begging to join a team. Lin ignores them. From his past life experience, he knows that defeating monsters solo can yield up to 5 times more rewards than splitting them with a party, making group play inefficient for someone with his skill level. Not far away, a nervous player using the Retribution Flame talent, an ability that appears powerful but actually reduces strength and lowers durability, deliberately lures a level 2 demon toward Lin, hoping to put him in danger. Lin immediately sees through the setup but remains calm. He knows defeating such a monster won't level him up yet, but it serves as a good warm-up. Instead of retreating, Lin carefully observes the demon's attack pattern and executes a perfectly timed dodge, triggering a system recognition. Believing that true strength comes from facing danger head-on, he counterattacks and lands a critical hit. The system announces that the demon has entered an enraged state, increasing its attack power by 50%. As the demon prepares a powerful strike, a nearby player shouts a warning that charging in now would be too risky. Lin ignores it, dashes forward to disrupt the timing, and delivers another critical hit for 10 damage, stopping the attack completely. He finishes off the Dreadfiend warrior on his own, earning 100 EXP and 5 copper coins. The surrounding players are left speechless. They cannot understand how a level 1 player with such basic equipment managed to win, with many assuming it was simply a stroke of luck. A player named Reckford approaches Lin, suspecting he might be an experienced tester due to his skill. He invites Lin to join their party. Lin declines at first, but Reckford persists, explaining that their 4-person team plans to challenge the boss, Chanter Griffin, and needs one more member to complete the group. He offers an even profit split and emphasizes the need for someone capable. Lin immediately sees through the offer. From his prior knowledge, he knows they are simply looking for a warrior to draw the boss's attention, as their team lacks a proper frontline. Even so, Lin smirks and agrees, and the system confirms that he has joined the party. In reality, Lin has his own plan. He knows that entering the dungeon with a full 5-member party triggers the boss's complete combat mode, significantly increasing the chances of rare legacy equipment drops. Since Chanter Griffin will permanently disappear after this hidden quest is completed, this is a one-time opportunity to obtain valuable early-game rewards. Lin has no intention of sharing the loot. he fully plans to claim everything for himself. Lin stands at the entrance of Chanter Griffin's dungeon, where nearby players immediately begin mocking him for exhausting his strength before even entering. They point out how difficult it is to obtain potions in the early game, claiming it can take defeating 100 monsters just to earn 2 copper coins. Others add that obtaining green tier gear on the first day is nearly impossible unless someone spends real money on in-game purchases. Lin ignores the noise and calmly raises his wooden stick. A system notification suddenly appears, stating that the stick is seeking a host. The onlookers laugh again, insisting that players cannot use monster weapons since they are not standard drops, and that if such a method were possible, early game weapon prices would be completely unbalanced. Then, the stick begins to glow. The system prompts whether the wooden stick should fuse with a monster's equipment, followed by an announcement that the World Tree branch is merging with the weapon. In an instant, Lin obtains the Dread Demon's curved saber, which grants a bleed effect on critical hits, increases critical rate by 9%. Lin recalls seeing the World Tree branch in his previous life, where it was sold at an auction 3 years later for an enormous sum. He now understands its true nature. It is a divine artifact that functions as a universal sword hilt, capable of binding with objects to form weapons. This allows him to effectively claim upgraded gear directly from enemies, replacing his equipment at no cost, while others remain limited to basic items. His stats update accordingly. As the group approaches the level 5 boss, Chanter Griffin, the party leader, Rex, orders Lin to stay back. He explains that the boss is currently locked in a scripted sequence, where it defeats 3 NPC soldiers before entering a brief recovery state, with reduced aggression and damage. However, Lin does not follow the plan. Instead, he redirects the NPC soldiers by informing them their captain is calling them back, causing them to retreat immediately. The party reacts with frustration as their strategy begins to fall apart. Ignoring Rex entirely, Lin declares that his fighting style is to strike first and charges straight at the boss. The party members call him reckless, assuming he has drawn all of the boss's attention onto himself. Seeing an opportunity, Rex removes Lin from the party, triggering a system notification confirming his removal. Their plan is simple: let Lin fall, then claim the rewards during the boss's weakened state without sharing. But Lin anticipated this outcome. With a confident smirk, he faces Chanter Griffin alone. The boss swings its massive hammer with such force that it creates a powerful shockwave through the air. Lin charges forward without hesitation and activates his Oath of the Sword talent, significantly increasing his attack power while wielding a sword. The clash is intense, and soon the system announces that Griffin has entered Phase 2. Watching from a distance, the party members are convinced Lin will be defeated, as a level 1 player should not be able to withstand such an attack. However, Lin reflects on his past life, where class value was determined by popularity. Wealthy players could afford high-tier classes, while he was forced to rely on the basic warrior class just to progress. From that experience, he learned that true strength comes from surviving the most dangerous situations and growing through them. Activating his grip enhancement, Lin holds his weapon sideways like a shield and executes a perfectly timed block against the devastating strike. In that moment, he makes a firm resolve: he will not waste this second chance. With unwavering determination, Lin charges forward once more, declaring that he will overcome any obstacle in his path as he continues his battle against the boss. Lin successfully defeats the level 5 boss, Griffin the Chanter, and the system immediately confirms the kill. Exhausted, he drops to one knee, having endured multiple heavy attacks with low-level stats. But thanks to the warrior class's natural HP advantage, he survives with only a sliver of health remaining. A flood of system notifications appears. Because he defeated a boss far above his level, Lin receives a 500% EXP bonus, gaining 2,350 EXP and instantly leveling up to level 2. His stats update. The system then announces that Lin is the first player in the Divine Realm to defeat Griffin the Chanter, rewarding him with 200 Meltown reputation and elevating his status to revered. He also unlocks a rare achievement titled For Whom the Bell Tolls. A global announcement follows, declaring that Griffin and his Terror Fiend forces have permanently disappeared from ERA Online, restoring peace to Meltown. Watching from a distance, Rex and his party are left in complete shock. They cannot believe the boss was defeated before its second phase even concluded and assume Lin must have exploited a game mechanic. Acting quickly, Rex orders his team to rush in and collect the loot, believing they are still entitled to a share since they initially entered together. However, when one of them attempts to pick up the drops, the system blocks the action, stating they do not have permission to loot. In that moment, Rex realizes his mistake. By removing Lin from the party earlier in an attempt to keep the rewards, he unintentionally made Lin the sole owner of all the loot. Lin calmly collects everything, including a valuable legacy item, Griffin the Chanter's Golden Bell. According to the system, the item can block a powerful attack once per day and repel the attacker when it breaks. As Lin gathers the remaining coins and materials, Rex's group grows increasingly resentful. One of them points out a harsh game mechanic. When a player is defeated, they drop all items obtained within the last 24 hours. Noticing that Lin's HP is critically low at just 3%, Rex activates a skill called Eagle Eye and fires an arrow that deliberately grazes Lin. The system issues a warning. Lin has suffered a critical injury, reducing his maximum HP by 90% and having all his stats until he reaches a safe zone. Rex approaches slowly, confident, and remarks that the items Lin carries are worth a significant amount in the in-game marketplace. Lin responds by pointing out that Rex has broken their agreement, but Rex dismisses it, openly admitting that his group specializes in cooperating first and then turning on others. He demands that Lin hand over everything, attempting to intimidate him into giving up his hard-earned rewards. Lin refuses without hesitation, tightening his grip on his weapon. He calmly states that Rex and his group are nothing more than a minor obstacle on his path to becoming stronger. He declares that he will move forward regardless, and challenges Rex to act if he truly intends to stop him. Rex's underling activates Void Eye, aiming directly at Lin, but Lin calmly raises the golden bell he obtained from Griffin, blocking the attack. Rex scoffs and mocks him, asking if the item makes him invincible. Lin responds coolly that it doesn't grant invincibility. It only gives him a single second of breathing room. Rex laughs, asking what difference 1 second could make. Lin smirks and explains that 1 second is exactly enough to upgrade a skill. Using the free skill point gained from reaching level 2, he learns a warrior-only ability called Death's Breath. The system explains, when a warrior takes damage, this skill restores a small amount of HP, but if the user is near death or surrounded by enemies, it activates automatically, restoring a massive amount of health that can even exceed the maximum HP limit. Lin's health immediately surges back to full, completely negating his previous injuries. His aura flares with intensity as he declares, "Do you want to see the power from hell?" Rex refuses to yield and orders his men to attack, while Lin's sword is still planted in the ground. The archer fires an arrow, but Lin moves with blinding speed, striking the attacker down with a single punch, demonstrating that his grip strength talent also enhances his unarmed combat abilities. Next, Rex commands the mage to cast Ice Blast, freezing Lin in place. As the enemy charges, Lin shatters the ice using pure physical force. The mage is left stunned, realizing that a high enough strength stat allows him to break free from restraints, dismissing the low-level frost spell as mere child's play. Rex argues that Lin's stats should still have due to his earlier injuries, but he notices that Lin's battle aura shows no signs of any stat reduction. Panicked, the mage accuses Lin of hacking. Lin coldly replies that it's too late. People only cry about cheats when they are losing. He then activates Aurora Amplification and finishes the mage with a single devastating strike. Now, only Rex remains. He smirks, believing Lin has exhausted his last advantage. Normally, the warrior trait Last Stand boosts stats when the player is surrounded by at least 3 enemies, but with only 2 remaining, Rex thinks Lin is vulnerable. "Your tricks are finished," he declares. Lin remains calm, gripping his sword and stating simply that he will send Rex back to town with a single clean strike. Rex draws his glowing purple daggers, laughing confidently. "As a professional assassin, my class is designed to destroy opponents one-on-one," he boasts, preparing for their ultimate confrontation. Rex charges at Lin without hesitation, declaring that he will kill him on the spot. He boasts about his assassin class trait, weak point strike, explaining that every attack applies a dangerous debuff. He warns that Lin will be overwhelmed quickly. Even acknowledging Lin's destructive power, Rex argues that in a prolonged fight, Lin will eventually falter and end up on his knees. Lin shouts back, "Who said anything about a long fight?" He swings his sword with every ounce of strength, staring down the respawn crystal, and strikes Rex with a single, decisive hit. The system confirms Rex was killed by warrior Lin Jie and applies a heavy death penalty. Rex's level drops from 3 to 2, and all his stats are reduced. Rex respawns at the crystal, completely bewildered. His surviving teammates, the archer and mage, stand awkwardly nearby. When he angrily asks if they are laughing at him, they nervously point out that all his clothes and equipment are gone. He screams in humiliation, swearing vengeance on Lin. Meanwhile, Lin observes the battlefield. He knows that his high defense is the only reason he wasn't sent back to town himself. He coldly orders the two trembling subordinates to return Rex's belongings, warning them that if their group crosses his path again, he will hunt them until their levels are reset to 0. Overwhelmed by Lin's aura, like that of an emperor of war risen from hell, they flee immediately. Several system notifications appear. Lin successfully resisted a player kill attack, earning 300 Meltown reputation and upgrading his status to follower. The system also announces that he has achieved legendary status in Meltown, granting NPCs the ability to follow him, build statues in his honor, and provide exclusive story access. Returning to Meltown to restock, Lin is greeted with awe. The NPC guards bow deeply, calling him the miraculous Lord Blade of Dawn, and ask him to accept the highest honors of the city. The system congratulates him for unlocking the legacy title Blade of Dawn. Watching players are stunned, whispering about whether this is some kind of platinum VIP unlock, but they quickly realize that no one would spend real money on a warrior class. Drawing on his past life knowledge, Lin recalls the lore of the Eternal Night era, where a legendary human warrior wielding a plain greatsword summoned the light of dawn to defeat monsters and save the world. He now understands that the Blade of Dawn is one of 8 heavily promoted legacy titles, tied to massive rewards. In all his previous experience, he never knew anyone to actually unlock one. Yet here, in the early stages of the game, Lin has achieved it. As Lin walks through Meltown, the NPC guards bow deeply, telling him that his actions as the Lord Blade of Dawn brought tears of joy to the entire town. A system prompt activates a side quest titled Hero of Meltown, directing him to the town council hall, where Mayor Oliver Green wants to host a welcome party in his honor. A guard offers to escort him, but Lin declines, preferring to keep a low profile and avoid drawing attention from hostile players. Meanwhile, Rex lurks in a nearby alley, watching Lin with burning anger and plotting to strike him when he's alone. His teammate, Meshi, nervously questions why they don't simply leave Lin alone, noting that the NPCs respect him and they still need to survive in Meltown. Rex snaps, insisting that even notoriety counts as fame, and that killing Lin will earn them respect among other villain players. A town guard soon approaches and warns Rex that fighting is strictly forbidden during the town celebration. Rex remains silent, but silently vows revenge. Inside the town council hall, Mayor Oliver Green greets Lin warmly, thanking him for defeating Chanter Griffin and saving countless lives. Lin recalls his past life, remembering the mayor as a weary, overworked NPC who had spent years grinding against monsters. In this new life, however, the mayor looks healthier and much happier. To show his gratitude, the mayor offers to build a solid gold statue of Lin in the town square. Lin politely declines and instead requests that the funds be used to reduce taxes for new players and hire additional guards. The mayor is astonished but agrees immediately. A system announcement goes out to the entire town. Trading taxes in Meltown are permanently cut in half to honor the great hero. Players in the streets cheer in excitement, praising the decision and celebrating more affordable potions and items. Back inside, the mayor gifts Lin a brass key and a land deed for a quiet 2-story house near the Windmill Fields. The system congratulates him for acquiring the Windmill View residence, marking the very first player-owned house in the game. Lin is thrilled, knowing from his past life how rare and difficult land is to secure, Even major guilds struggle to hold property. Having a permanent private house this early gives him a major advantage for safely storing items and training. Additionally, new system features unlock, town teleportation, quick weapon repair, a remote auction house, and a permanent 15% discount on all purchases, further cementing Lin's early game dominance. Lin heads to the market to buy supplies, taking advantage of the 15% discount granted by Mayor Green. Suddenly, a thief passes an agility check and uses the pickpocket skill, snatching 100 copper coins from him. Not willing to let this happen in broad daylight, Lin chases the thief into a dead-end alley. The thief reveals herself as a level 6 elite rogue named Karen of the Dark Street. Lin recalls from his past life that Karen was just a minor black market NPC who had mugged him a few times. She explains that someone put a bounty on his life, and, as an NPC who takes paid jobs, she has no choice but to try and kill him. Lin immediately suspects that the client is Rex. Karen orders her rogue teammates to attack, but Lin quickly dispatches them all with ease. Seeing his overwhelming strength, Karen decides the job isn't worth the medical bills for her team and calls off the fight. She even offers Lin a truce, suggesting he visit the Dark Street for a drink sometime. However, Lin stops her from leaving and demands his stolen coins back. Insulted, Karen reverses her decision and prepares to kill him after all. Lin refuses to back down. Those coins were hard-earned, and he isn't leaving without them. The two clash, and Karen lands a powerful strike that completely shatters Lin's wooden stick, triggering a weapon destruction notification. Lin is momentarily caught off guard. He notices that Karen is acting very differently from his memories of the past, far more dramatic, strangely flirtatious, and unpredictable, and he cannot figure out what caused this change. Lin refuses to let Karen leave and tells her bluntly that he will fight her with his bare hands if necessary to reclaim his money. Amused by his confidence, Karen goes a few rounds with him but quickly realizes that he is genuinely strong. Deciding that fighting over a small coin pouch is a waste of her time, she calls off her team and tosses the pouch back to Lin before exiting the alley. Lin catches the pouch and immediately notices it feels heavier than before. Opening it, he is shocked to find a glowing prosthetic eye inside along with a short note. The message is from Karen, whose real name is Xiao Yin, explaining that the item is a welcome gift and expressing her hope to work with him in the future. Lin identifies the artifact as the Eye of True Sight, a powerful legacy item that allows the user to see through illusions and uncover hidden objects. Surprised by the gift, he wonders why the people of Meltown are acting so differently from his past life, but sets the thought aside for now and heads to the bustling town market to see what the new item can reveal. At the market, Lin spots a merchant selling massive piles of blackstone for just 1 copper coin each. From his past life, he knows blackstone is considered useless junk that most players discard without a second thought. Suddenly, the Eye of True Sight activates on its own. Among the heaps of ordinary rocks, one gem glows brightly. Lin appraises it and discovers it is a rare starlight stone. Stunned by his luck, he begins to grasp just how powerful this new artifact truly is and starts planning how to use it to uncover more hidden treasures in the future. Lin tucks away his Eye of True Sight to study later. The merchant happily sells him one, secretly chuckling to himself. Lin just smirks. His Eye of True Sight easily sees through the rock and reveals a flawless starlight stone hidden inside. He knows that normal appraisal skills would never detect it. Lin could sell it to an NPC for a quick profit of 100 copper coins, but he already has a far better plan from his past life knowledge. He recalls that the alchemist life class is unpopular because failed recipes can cause deadly explosions, and standard healing potions often cost more to make than shops sell them for. However, Starlight Stone powder acts as a hidden catalyst, multiplying the effects of cheap ingredients and bypassing expensive crafting costs entirely. Rex's underlings spot Lin in the market and quietly follow him, assuming he discovered a secret money-making trick from the closed beta. They attempt to copy him, buying piles of blackstone and crushing them, but all they get is useless blackstone powder and no idea why their plan fails. Meanwhile, Lin purchases cheap crystal vials and basic grass leaves. He heads to the town fountain, using its premium water as a high-level crafting location. Crushing the starlight stone into powder and mixing it with the grass leaf essence and fountain water, he successfully creates a perfect medium healing potion. The quality matches that of official shops perfectly. With precise mechanics and his past life knowledge, Lin quickly mass-produces 100 potions. The system announces that his alchemy mastery has advanced to apprentice rank. He lists the potions for sale at 1 copper cheaper than the NPC shops, and the crowd goes wild. His entire stock sells out in just 1 hour, turning his starting 100 copper into 1,000. Meanwhile, the players who tried to copy him mixed their useless black stone powder with grass and regular water. The system warns them that the result is toxic, but one careless player ignores the warning and drinks it anyway. He collapses immediately, and the system announces that his character has been defeated by the failed mixture. The shocked crowd assumes he fell victim to the risks of alchemy. Lin casually ignores the chaos, satisfied with his success, and decides to log off to plan how to make the most of his new wealth. Lin logs off ERA Online and completes a real-world currency exchange. At the early game rate of 1 copper coin to 10,000 yuan, he cashes out part of his new wealth. A bank notification pops up, confirming that exactly 1 million yuan has been deposited into his account. For the first time, Lin feels a sense of relief. He finally has money. But the peace doesn't last. Shouting erupts from the living room. A blonde loan shark and his thugs have barged into the apartment, demanding that Lin's mother and sister pay their monthly debt early. When his mother points out that the payment isn't due until the end of the month, the thugs grab his sister, and the situation is about to turn dire. Lin calmly steps into the room, holding his phone, and asks if 1 million yuan is enough to settle everything. He transfers the money directly to the loan shark's account. The man laughs, mocking him for pretending to be rich. But when he checks his phone and sees the official bank notification confirming the full balance, he goes completely silent. Shocked and humiliated, he demands to know how a lazy gamer could amass such wealth. Lin replies simply, "I'm a gamer. Making money through games is natural for me." The loan shark, furious that someone he looked down on profited while he lost big, declares that the million yuan won't count toward the debt and tries to take it by force. But Lin moves with the deadly instincts he honed as the undying god of war. He dodges instantly, twists the loan shark's arm. The thugs feel an overwhelming pressure radiating from Lin, like a demon freshly emerged from hell, and freeze completely. The loan shark screams in pain and quickly begs for mercy, agreeing that the debt is fully paid and swearing never to return. Lin kicks them all out, and his sister shouts after them not to come back. Once the danger passes, she turns to Lin, her eyes filled with suspicion. She demands to know how a secret millionaire suddenly appeared in their house. Lin breaks into a nervous sweat, trying to figure out how to explain himself without alarming his family. Lin looks at his sister, completely overwhelmed. He can hardly believe he's been reborn and sees her alive and healthy, standing right in front of him. Memories of his past life flood back: their father's death, his sister's critical illness, and the crushing debt that buried their family. With no way to earn a normal living, he had turned to the newly launched ERA Online to survive. He started as a weak level 3 warrior, hired by wealthy players as disposable cannon fodder, earning only 2 copper coins per battle. Every fight was a near-death experience, but that desperate struggle to survive honed his combat skills into something extraordinary. Lin endured and even soloed the bosses himself. By the time he reached level 25, a new dream had taken shape: to become the strongest player purely through skill. During that journey, he met Bailey Chongcheng, and the two swore to climb to the absolute peak together before challenging each other to see who was truly the best. Lin eventually became a level 63 berserker, feared as the undying god of war. He broke into the top 10 rankings, nearly all dominated by pay-to-win players, and finally earned enough to ease his family's financial burden. But the memories soon turned dark. Before the finals of a major tournament, a manager pulled him aside and ordered him to throw the match against Bailey, explaining that the game was controlled by wealthy backers who had already chosen Bailey as the star. Lin refused, desperate for the 100 million yuan prize to save his sister, trusting that Bailey would honor their promise. Then his mother called, crying, saying the life support equipment at the hospital had suddenly stopped. Lin immediately understood. Powerful people were threatening his family to force him to comply. In that moment, He felt the crushing weight of being a commoner with no backup and no second chances. Back in the present, his sister notices his eyes are wet and asks if he is crying. Lin quickly wipes his face and smiles, telling her he's just so happy he feels like laughing. When she asks if he really made $1,000,000 from the game, he smoothly invents a story about opening a mystery box and selling a rare item for a huge price. Excited, his sister immediately wants to try the gaming helmet herself, but Lin firmly reminds her that minors are not allowed to play. As he watches her, he quietly reflects on why different people play ERA online: for glory, for dreams, or to escape their problems. For Lin, the reason has always been simple. Born at the very bottom with nothing, his only goal is to become the strongest, survive at all costs, and protect the people he loves. Lin walks into an officially licensed ERA online shop in the real world, aiming to buy a top-tier gaming helmet, the Supreme Lightning, priced at a full 1,000,000 yuan. Memories of his past life flood back. He could never afford gear like this until late in the game, while his rival Bailey had top-tier equipment from the very start. The shopkeeper sizes him up and bluntly tells him that even hauling bricks for 10 years wouldn't cover it. Just then, Rex storms into the store with his goons, intending to buy the same Supreme Lightning. He immediately recognizes Lin as the player who humiliated him in-game and cost his group valuable levels. Realizing they're in the real world where Lin's in-game stats mean nothing, Rex orders his men to attack, desperate to reclaim his pride. But Lin's past life experience gives him a massive advantage. 5 years of brutal, life-or-death combat sharpened his reflexes and muscle memory to superhuman levels. Every punch and strike feels slow motion to him. He dodges effortlessly and defeats him with a single punch. Terrified, Rex's underlings flee, leaving Rex to face Lin alone. Lin ignores the chaos, taps his card to pay the full 1,000,000 yuan, and walks out of the store with the Supreme Lightning. Outside, he is approached by Hawk, the Retribution Knight from the game. Bowing deeply, Hawk begs Lin to take him as a disciple. He admits he had chosen his flashy class talent to hide his fear of responsibility and real combat, but seeing Lin fight like a warrior reborn from hell inspired him to stop hiding and become genuinely strong. Lin considers it carefully. Using his knowledge from the future, he notes that Hawk is still unaware of an important upcoming game event, but he leaves the door open instead of turning him away. Recognizing your own weakness is the first step toward real strength, Lin tells him, mentioning that ERA Online is updating to version 1.01 and promising to watch Hawk's progress. Hawk lights up, vowing to use the time to prove himself worthy. As Lin walks away, he smiles to himself, realizing that the world is already shifting in ways he never experienced in his past life, and that his new path is heading somewhere completely unpredictable.